Welcome in, everyone. Michelle Thompson here with Trey Ryder and Anthony Ione, and we are excited to kick off another episode of Around the ACL. And this time we are going to spend most of the episode previewing our Open number 4 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I looked at the roster, and obviously we're going to get into details, but what I will say is there's a lot of team mix-ups. That's what I noticed, a lot of team mix-ups. So we definitely have our feelings about whether or not we like that idea, but it'll definitely be entertaining. But before we get into that, we just came off of our Thanksgiving break. Trey, how was your Thanksgiving? I know it was the one you said where you and Shelby, right?
Yeah, we went and did our own thing, went to Atlanta. It was a great weekend to just kind of relaxing, watch football, went to the botanical gardens, they already had the Christmas lights up, so it's very pretty and very chill. So it was a good time, especially when I came back and I started hearing all my coworkers, oh yeah, I was in a house with 45 people and the kids were screaming, and I'm like, that could not be further from what I did. So it was very, very relaxing. Jake can't make fun of me because my Clemson Tigers won their rivalry game. That's why I'm in my orange. And so
very nice.
A great way to end a terrible season, but it was overall, yeah, no, it was the break. Like, I got done with it and I was like, man, I don't think I could have had a better Thanksgiving break. So ate good food, got to get away, spend time with the wife, watch some football. I couldn't beat it.
I feel like Anthony's might be a little different.
Yes.
Yeah, it gets nutty. Yeah, you guys have heard the stories about Uncle Bob and our family. We were 60 deep in one house, in one normal house. I mean, we're not talking about like anything giant. We're not staying in Jake's mansion that he talks about.
You didn't rent an Airbnb for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, no.
I might not have seen 60 people in the hotel I was staying at the entire weekend.
That's awesome. Oh man, yeah, good time. So my Uncle Bob's sister, she's been doing Thanksgiving since I was a little guy. Rome little, maybe littler. So she's still making the same from scratch recipe from back in the like early 80s. So it's so delicious. Everything's from scratch. And I brought some whiskey. Usually me and Uncle Bob will sip on some whiskey the whole day, and usually it's just me, him, and one of my cousins, but everybody's getting older. It just goes to say how much older I am. I was mixing us up some old fashions, and then it was like, another cousin comes over, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you are 22 now. All right, here you go. And then another one comes over, and I'm like, oh, I must have made 30 old fashions. I mean, it turned into this assembly line. I was like, whoa, I didn't know it was going to be like this. So that ended up being a hit, and we were just all sitting around chatting, watching football, and drinking a lot of whiskey. So it was a good day.
Kudos to you for having enough liquor.
Yeah, I know. So luckily, someone else had brought a bottle, and then another person brought a bottle, and I was like, "Oh, you just saved the day. I didn't know we were going to have a line out the door like this." But it worked out great. Hey, other than that, I'll make the announcement because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Little man did make the varsity team, so that was
nice.
He's officially the youngest and smallest, I think, varsity player in the state of Colorado. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just a whole weekend of basketball media days, and where they, we do the media days just like that with cornhole, and then scrimmages and practice and film, and it got serious. Uniform handouts, new jumpsuits. I mean, it just got crazy over the weekend. So we were practicing 8 a.m. on Turkey Day. So that's
exciting though. What a cool moment for him. And what an accomplishment. He's put the work in and it pays off. That's such a good lesson for him, wherever this takes him, to know that when you put the hard work in, you get what you want. So that's amazing.
What's going to be awesome is like around the ACL is going to be like this mini storyline that you could go back and when he gets a college Division I scholarship somewhere, you're going to go back to when you were talking about, hey guys, so I made this little contraption where I put this basketball hoop in our garage and it or in our basement, and it
was like a couple of years ago you're talking about that.
You could probably even go back to where you're like, well, I think I'm going to decide to tear apart the lab and replace it with like you can go way back to where we were at the beginning.
That's true.
He'll need about 3 more inches before we start talking D1. He's so small.
That's okay. You never know.
Yeah.
My Thanksgiving was not like either one of yours. It was somewhere in between. We go to my in-laws' house. There's about 10 of us, so it's still really small, and nice. But what I don't understand, I mean, I'm not a whiskey drinker, so I don't know a lot about whiskey. But I started off. My best friend always has us for brunch before, and I drank a good amount of champagne. And man, is it hard to make it through the whole day when you start off with a lot of champagne? I don't know if whiskey's different, but the champagne was rough. And this is not like my friend doesn't mess around. This is like she started us off. I think the first bottle was like an $85 bottle of champagne. Like she's not
Wow.
messing around like we're drinking cheap champagne.
Yeah.
But my goodness, I was like later on, oh, whoa, okay, I could
No,
definitely
no bubbly for me. That stuff messes me up. I don't do that.
okay. The bubbles, no bubbles. Yeah, but it was good. Whole day was good, and then on Saturday, so our tradition is that on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, we go up to the mountains and we cut down our Christmas tree. We go with a bunch of people. We stay up there for the day. We didn't get a lot of storms, so this year I'm like, well, we're not going to have snow. Typically we're up in the snow playing around, but we actually went to about 5,000 feet, and there was snow on the ground, which none of us were prepared for. We brought our Tacoma, which is not 4-wheel drive. So it got to a point where we're like, yeah, we can't go any farther. It was just pure ice. It's not going to make it. We found a good spot to hang out, cut down our beautiful tree, and had a lot of fun. People are so crazy. Like I know, Trey, you get pretty in depth with your like tailgating situation. I mean, people are bringing like mini barbecues and they're like grilling brats. Someone brought a tri-tip to put over the fire. I mean, I joked with Nick. I'm like, I brought like a can of tuna. I'm like, all right, I didn't get the memo. These people get serious with their food. So we had like a feast up there, up in the mountains, and a really good time. So one of my favorite traditions.
Anything I can appreciate is a good tailgate of whatever type of event. You guys want to start tailgating the movie theater? I'm down.
Let's do it.
I'm down to tailgate whatever you want to do.
That's awesome.
Rome's got a soccer game. Let's tailgate.
I'm not
do it.
opposed.
Let's do it.
I'm not opposed. Hey, we did go see Zootopia 2 as well. Rome and I, little day date. Really good movie. Highly recommend. All right, let's get into it. Albuquerque coming up this weekend. Open number 4. We'll start it off with singles. Trey, who is standing out to you in singles?
Yeah, so I took a look at this, and to me, I think what you said, Michelle, kind of hits it on the head. That this is, it's probably our smallest of the fields. Not a surprise as we get, you go from Rock Hill to Winter Haven to Richmond. Like those are 3 huge hubs for cornhole, and not that New Mexico doesn't have that. It's just certainly maybe not yet to the scale as what we see for others. So this is going to be a smaller field, right? It's not a tiny field, but it is smaller in general. But it allows me to set up a question that I'm going to ask right now, but I'm going to give Anthony time to think about what he wants for the rest of the show. But I'm going to propose to him that given the small size of the field, you can have the open winners in singles, or you can have the field. And I feel like when we do this a lot of times thus far, you're always going to talk about, well, the field is a really tough and easy bet just simply because you're talking about the size of the field. But here, when we loop in a Cash Chamness, a Mark Richards, and a Jacob Trzcienski, and we look at them versus the field, I think this might be one of the first opens where I would seriously consider that on either direction. So if I start with kind of who I'm looking at in singles, those are the first 3 names that come to mind. They've already shown this season that they can play at a very high level. They can deliver. They can win. So when all of them are going to be there this weekend, I think all eyes are going to be on them, and they have the first opportunity to be a multi-title winner within a single season. I think that is something to be said as we get very close to this first signature. This is going to be the last event before the first signature of the season. It snuck up on us, I think, a little bit this year. And so really, this is a final tune-up opportunity for all of these players that are attending here. If they're not on this list, they're going to go at least more than a month without playing in top level competition a pro is before they get into the signature. And so I think this final tune-up is going to give us the best indication of who is going to be playing really, really well. I expect the players that finish in the top 4, right, of this event to be also ones that we could see maybe winning brackets being right there at the end. Now, other names that I see on this list that certainly can definitely win the whole thing. You have Logan Chamberlain and Gavin Cano. We'll talk a little bit about them in doubles, but as individual singles players, look, Logan Chamberlain has been there right at the end across already multiple events this season. It would not surprise me if he won this entire event. It's already a bracket winner on the season. In addition to that, though, I'm looking at someone like a Ryan Wiedenfeld, and we kind of also the clips and the little screenshots of the incredible game that Ryan Wiedenfeld and Landon Crabtree had. Landon Crabtree throws an 11.4 PPR and scores 6 points against a Ryan Wiedenfeld. They both combined throw 56 in a row, 72 in a row for Ryan Wiedenfeld. That's up there and tied for the most that I've ever seen. And so that's really just an incredible run for an individual player. So certainly I got my eyes on him for sure. But then, this is going to be one of those events where, because of the size of the field, we're going to have someone, based on how the brackets are going to lay out, we're going to have someone make a bracket final or maybe even just a king seat match that is going to come kind of out of left field. And so I think the hard part is going to be identifying who is that person going to be, right? And as I look through the list, obviously Zach Aiken's still here. That wouldn't be a surprise in any way, shape, or form. Does Ryan Windsor do it again? Does Sam Finley make a bracket final? As someone that we've talked about continuing to build momentum, and you could argue is the best woman in the world at the moment, along up there with Caitlin Allshouse. Caitlin Allshouse also going to be here. Like, does she make a bracket final? Braden Wilson, Eddie Grindersleeve. We'll talk a little bit about them in doubles. I think both have a unique opportunity to come in and make a little bit of a splash. So for me, I think the key is here, and I actually, just looking through one more time, I did see Ethan Walker, Ethan Farias, and Gabriel Clausen. Those were kind of the ones that I overlooked maybe a little bit on singles. Gabe Clausen might give you a little bit of comfortability taking that field that I offered to Anthony. If you're going to say, okay, I got Gabe Clausen in there too, but I'll stick to it as a good opportunity. So really, I think this is just an opportunity for us, a last ditch effort to see who comes in here, who sneaks in. And could it even be, you got to get, I'll remind everybody, Jake's hot take right before Thanksgiving. He said, I'm not going to be on the show for this one. He says Richard Nyberg wins singles at this event. So Richard Nyberg, another opportunity to see who kind of comes out of the woodwork, who has a good run right before the start of the signature season. Anthony, who's sticking out to you?
Yeah, I'm going to just feed off of kind of what Trey was saying towards the end to open up my singles discussion. Zach Aiken, Cash Chamness, Gabriel Clausen, just to walk through those three real quick. Obviously, Zach Aiken popping off last season, really put himself on the radar and really consistent this year as well. We saw him make the singles final against Cash. If he didn't run into Cash, might be arguably the best game ever played from Cash in that final. I mean, the stats that Zach Aiken was coming up and losing is absolutely insane. So taking second place in open number 1 and then open number 2, having a decent run with a bracket 5th place finish. This guy finished 13th last year, and this is going to kind of be a question I'm going to throw back to Trey. So I'm going to really focus on how they finished last year. But Cash Chamness obviously coming out again, put himself on the map last season, had insane runs in the teams events and doubles and singles, really just made us all be aware. You couldn't deny the talent that this kid was bringing. He was our open number 1 champ. Made a bracket final at the last open. He was 14th last season in pro standings. And then the third one, Gabe Clausen, obviously taking down a signature last season, a bracket 3rd at open number 2, and an overall 3rd at the last open. So taking down a bracket and making it into that final 4. He was 12th last season. So just to kind of summarize, you have your 12th, your 13th, and your 14th place overall finishes last season, coming from an Aiken, a Chamness, and a Clausen. And Trey, this is kind of where I want to turn to you. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before, where we've had players coming out of essentially the minor leagues, AKA the elite division, and finishing like they did in the pro division. What are your thoughts on what they were able to accomplish, having to essentially qualify just to qualify to be in this mix. What are your thoughts on their runs last season?
Yeah, so I think you could look at it one of two ways. One, I don't want to. It almost will feel like I want to compliment them, but it also might feel like I'm undermining kind of at the same time, because in reality, look, there's no surprise here that the reasons that those three players in particular, we're talking about an Aiken, a Chamness, and a Clausen, the only reason that they weren't necessarily elite, had to be elite players last year is because of their age, right? The U18 restriction allows them to, or force them to at least have to go about it in a different way in order to limit that field. And so I think talent-wise, there's no surprise whatsoever that those three are among the best in the entire world. And so I would say that overall, it doesn't really surprise me, but it's just one more thing that they had to go through. And sometimes that would be a hindrance and sometimes it wouldn't. And so I really do think it's going to be interesting this season, because as they go into the season, they're going to have a kind of a different outlook. They're going to have a different methodology. And for some of them, there's going to be a big target on their back, right? And so as the signature season is going to be structured a little bit differently, I'm interested to see if they can respond the same way that they did last year.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, so now to kind of move on to the staples in the pro division. I mean, we can start off with a Logan Chamberlain. I constantly talk about how much this guy grinds, the progression coming from the college into the pro. He doesn't seem to let his foot off the gas pedal. Very consistent, won a bracket at open number 2, finishing 3rd overall, and then making a bracket final again in Richmond. And we saw how good he could be come end of the season, finishing in the top 10 in last year's pro division. I continue to be impressed with this guy. We're always looking for that thing that players do to level up coming into the next season. And we really saw him show that towards the end of the season, where the mental game was kind of a new focus for him. And he continues that in the early part of the season. And, we got to keep emphasizing the fact that this is the last open before we go into signature number 1 in Myrtle Beach. So it's going to get serious really, really quick. And this season, that's when we start to count finish positions towards your ranks in the pro division. So I see Logan Chamberlain walking into the signature confident, ready to go, and one of those players that we have to keep talking about winning opens or signatures or whatever. I think he's one of the best players in the game right now, and the consistency is just there. Mark Richards, also going to be in the field in singles. One of the champs you were talking about, Trey, that would be against the field. Obviously, we know who Mark Richards is. The biggest thing for Mark Richards this season was, I think it was, me and Trey really starting to harp on this sometime last season, maybe mid last season. We're saying we want to see Mark Richards airmail return to the game. And that has really turned everything around. Whether he realized it himself or he was listening to the analyst and said, maybe I should consider returning my airmail back to the game. And I don't hate the fact that he gave the roll bag time. He gave it time to evolve, not only to develop it, but to see how it evolved within his game. And I think now that he's able to use it selectively, he's already tried it in situations where it didn't work, where it cost him big points, where it won him games. Now he sees the value of the air or the roll bag. And sometimes you just have to make mistakes to see where the value is going to be the best for you. And that, I think, is the biggest, turnaround. We talked about Logan's mental game, Mark Richards evolving his game even further, returning the airmail a little bit more, and really such a balanced game. I don't think anyone's balancing the game better than Mark Richards. It's actually becoming more difficult to call games for Mark Richards for me. You start to learn trends of different players. This guy's always going to roll in this situation. This guy always goes slick side here. Mark Richards will change it up. And, he might be seeing the smallest little thing in a board layout that we're not seeing. Maybe the corner of the bag's not at the 12 o'clock. It's rotated to the 10 o'clock. We got to really pay a little bit more attention to Mark Richards' games on why did he step out cut there instead of just roll. So it's becoming more and more difficult to call Mark Richards games. The IQ just continues to blow out of the ceiling for me. So those are going to be fun for me.
It's not, you're saying it's not hard for us when Colin Hodette rolls up there and goes, yeah, I think he's going to roll it here, guys.
Yes, exactly. When a roll bag is a standard shot too, it's like right. Everything's a roll. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Mark Richards does this season. back to Trey's point, it's going to be tough to go up against him versus the field because of how well he's playing. Gavin Cano, guys, I find myself season after season talking about Gavin going to break out. Obviously, he did last year, finished number 8 in the pro division. I had him at the beginning of the season, calling him out as like a number 1. I thought that he had that capability. I mean, we saw the same thing with like a Soto, these guys that just break out and they just have the ability to be number 1. I still think Gavin has that. Whatever it is, there's just something small. There's so many times where he's a bracket second, a bracket third, and it's like he's cooking. He's playing really well, and it just doesn't get the win. But I
Anthony, do you think it's a confidence thing? Like, I'm not saying he's not confident. I'm just saying, do you think that there's like a tiny little fraction of a confidence shift that happens?
So Connell's one of those players I actually have a pretty close relationship on the side that no one knows about. We actually chat quite a bit on the side, and he's let me in a lot into his game. I don't think that's the case. I don't want to call it bad luck or a finishing issue. I mean, the guy's lost in he's bracket final twice this season. So the consistency that is there, the well-traveledness is there. I think that is where your confidence is going to come from. Someone who's appearing in tournaments and constantly finishing well. Whatever it is, it could be bad luck. I don't know. But he's always in contention for me to win. And I keep looking at the fact that he's been in a bracket final twice this season in 4 events. So, I mean, he's due. Actually, 3. We're going into our 4th. So look for Gavin Cano to be one of those guys. Colin Hodette, I want to bring up. Actually, let me skip over to Tony Smith since I'm on this theme of the staples in the pro division. Guys, obviously a lot of eyes on Tony Smith coming into this one. We went into depth last season. I'll talk about him a little bit more in doubles and get into what we talked about. Last episode. But a 17th in bracket at open number 2, a bracket 5th as well this season. We're talking about the 2nd best player in the world last season. Something's going on. I'm going to save it for when we get into the doubles discussion, but I just want to point out there's going to be a lot of looks at Tony Smith, more from what are we going to get from him going into the signature number 1. All of we've heard them say in interviews, oh, we were just trying some stuff. We were just, messing around a little bit, trying some. It's done. Trying around is done. I mean, we're going into signature number 1. This is when it gets real. So what version of Tony Smith are we going to have going into Myrtle Beach for the signature number 1? And it's December 1st. I mean, it is this month. Jacob Trzcienski, we don't have a lot from him yet this season. He's got that 1 appearance and he comes out and wins it. You just never know a Jacob Trzcienski. He went from number 5 in the world to 48th. So we saw the massive drop in the ranks, and then he comes out and wins an open. So he seems to be more consistent in singles. And so since we're talking about singles, certainly one of those guys you got to look at to maybe go back to back. It is difficult to go back to back in this division. Mark Richards winning 3 in 1 season. Even making those back to back is extremely, extremely difficult. So a lot of eyes on what Tony Smith and Jacob Trzcienski can do. Going back to Hodette, similar to, Aiken, Chamness, Clausen, we can throw a Hodette. I see him in the field, a Fabianard there, a Farias. These are all guys that continue for me their stock just keeps rising. They continue to get better every time. They continue to surprise us. I can see a championship coming out of Hodette as well. He's one of those guys that, he kind of hovers around 4th and 5th and 3rd and 4th and 5th. A little bit more success in doubles if he's got a great partner standing across from him. This year, he's got a 5th and a 4th finish in singles, finished 28th in the division last season. We didn't see that coming. We didn't even have Colin Hodette really on radar. So this is a guy maybe not look to win it, but hey, a bracket win for Colin Hodette coming out of this open would be a huge success for him. And I think a lot of confidence going in to that first signature. And I'm glad you brought up Braden Wilson, because I don't think I've seen him yet this season. This will be a first look, right? Guys, we're talking about a top 10 caliber player fell off last season to 58th. We're getting a first look at him here in the 25-26 season. This was one of the best players in the game. I mean, he must have had, I don't know. What do you think, Trey? Maybe 6 or 7 or 8 broadcast appearances that season. I mean, he had a ton in singles and doubles. Yes, Big Shot
Big
Braden.
Shot
Big Shot Braden that I believe Trey tried to steal from me. Like, no credit. No credit.
Big Shot Braden, which I completely came up with and did not use
Yeah.
or did not get any from
It's
anybody
fine.
else.
No worries. I see how it is.
Yeah, everyone we've talked about so far, we've gotten a look at, right? We kind of know what they look like this season. And right now, since we're talking signature one is next, big eyes for me on Braden Wilson. What has he been doing, behind the curtain? What's been going on? Has he been grinding? Has he been practicing? Has he evolved his game? We might be looking for a little something different. Maybe he's introduced a reverse cut. Didn't see much from him back in the future. Now that was one of his big shot pushes on the stage in the reverse cut position, but he's not known for that. But what will Braden Wilson bring to the 26 season that we haven't seen yet? Going to be really looking forward to that one. We got Grindersleeve in the field, kind of the same situation. Not much yet this season. What do we get from Grindersleeve? Those two are going to be partners. We'll talk about them later. Almanza, a new look. Roybal, a new look. So we're getting kind of first looks at a lot of players for me. And then maybe the last one, I just want to just highlight All's House for me. You talked about Samantha Finley a little bit earlier. Man, this girl continues to impress. Would love to see a deep run from one of the ladies here in the open singles. And it's probably going to come from an All's House or a Finley if they're going to take out some of the boys. And they have the ability to take down a bracket.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And it's been a while since we've seen that. Obviously, we've seen Sam take some big wins, but let's see it happen in an open. That would be very exciting. Moving into doubles, I mentioned it earlier, Trey. A lot of shakeups with our teams. You mentioned Noah Almanza. I was surprised with that pairing. Jacob Trzcienski, Noah Almanza. Didn't see that coming. There's some other ones in there, but definitely some committed pro partnerships, but a lot of shakeups. So Trey, what are you thinking about in doubles?
Yeah, big one for me. Gabe Clausen and Zach Aiken. Like that's I almost put that in. Yeah. I almost put that in the tier of like Mark Richards, Tony Smith, Logan Chamberlain, Gavin Cano, and Gabe Clausen, Zach Aiken. Right, those should be the favorites, I think, going into the weekend. I certainly think there'll be some other teams. A Cash Chamness and a Spencer Fabianar. I thought that was a very, very interesting team, right? I kind of like that role a little bit. Like let me control F here and make sure Tony Forbes is in here. He's not. Okay, so I don't have to yell at them again. But given that Spencer Fabianar is there without Tony, I actually kind of like that pairing. Like I can see, Fabianar kind of being like a vocal leader of that team while Cash kind of does a lot of the big heavy lifting. And then, Spencer Fabianar is a fantastic player as well. We talked about how good he is. Like, I don't know. I just kind of like that dynamic in a way. So I think that could be a really fun team to watch in that regard. So look, we'll first look at Grindersleeve Wilson. Another opportunity to see Ethan Walker and Dave Morris, a team that I'm very high on this year. Colin Hodette playing with an Emax, Ethan Farias. So I think that's also going to be an interesting dynamic as well. We'll see the team Hunter Thorson and Hunter Thorne in there. But yeah, look, this to me boils down. You're going to see some of the best teams in the world, and although it's not a massive field, you're still going to see Mark Richards and a Tony Smith, a Logan Chamberlain, and a Gavin Cano. I think those are going to be arguably 1-2 across the entire season, and certainly teams will jump in and win throughout the year. But this is our last look. People, we had the conversation: are we worried about Tony Smith? Anthony can answer how he wants to. My answer is still no. I'm not worried about it. Get me through this event, get me through Signature 1, maybe through Signature 2. And if I'm still seeing a struggling Tony Smith, maybe then I'll start to wonder. But this team, once you get the competitive juices flowing, I just feel like what's so good about Smith and Richards is they just figure it out. They just always have. That's true. And so for me, I'm not looking to say, well, technically I think they're a little bit off here. No, that's never what we've been wowed about. We've been bored to death when it comes to Mark Richards and Tony Smith because they are so good at just figuring it out. And it's winning. It's never pretty. It's just, they just win. And so because of that, like, look, I'm not going to be shocked if they go out there and do something special this weekend. Another team that I hadn't seen a lot of, they might have played one event already, but I didn't really note their finish if they did. And that's Ryan Wiedenfeld and Chris Roybal. Like, I think those two as individuals, we have talked about previously, some of the best shot makers that we've seen, the ability to just throw anything at any time and be relentless. I think some things that I worried about when it came to Ryan Wiedenfeld is being able to go on long stretches of being able to run bags. And then we hear about this crazy game a few weeks ago in which Landon Crabtree, and I already mentioned it, Ryan Wiedenfeld throws 72 in a row. That's not something that I thought, honestly, that Ryan Wiedenfeld could do right now, because I always felt like he
by
would
choice
almost get bored. Right, exactly. And he just wouldn't be able to do that. So that just kind of perks my interest a little
capable. Bit. It's just, will he?
Yeah, right. He's going to do crazy stuff instead.
But that interests me, because now that's a different kind of side to Ryan Wiedenfeld that I hadn't necessarily seen before. And so because of that, I'm now interested. And for him and Roybal, like, is anybody on this podcast shocked if they finish outside the top 25?
No.
Is anybody shocked if they finish in the top 7?
Yes.
I'm not.
Okay. All right. That's a different answer than I was anticipating. I was kind of trying to make the analogy that, like,
they could go either way.
This is a high floor, low ceiling type. I mean, a low ceiling type of team, or a high ceiling, low floor team that I don't know what to expect this year. I mean, if Ryan Wiedenfeld starts throwing 72 in a row more often, then hey, this could be a top 7 team in my opinion. So I don't know. I just think it's an interesting look at a first look at that team as we get into the season.
Anthony, doubles.
All right, let me talk about Richards and Smith for a little bit, because this is our like Trey was saying, is one of the 2 teams that we're going to be looking at as the favorites coming into this one. 4th in bracket at the last open in Richmond a couple weeks ago, and for players like that, for caliber of players like that, that's got to be close to a floor performance. So I was kind of looking to last season. 14 times last season, they finished better than 4th place, which is what they did at the last one. 14 times, and wait for it, 7 doubles championships. I mean, there's players been in the game for 8 years that don't even have 7 ACL titles over 8 years, and these guys pulled 7 doubles championships in one season. And it's Tony Smith for me in that doubles partnership that needs to figure it out. Richards throwing gas for me. And in addition to that, not just how he's throwing on his side of the board, I think he's one of the best doubles partners you could ask for in the game. You talk about chemistry, you talk about the support that you get from the other side of the court, whether it be do what's best for you, or here's what I would do, the timeouts, the way he talks in timeouts, the mentality of the game. I think he's one of the best doubles partnerships out there. And we discussed on the previous episode, and Trey kind of alluded to it, the consistent resetting mid-pitch, a balk, if you will, in baseball. And like Trey was saying, he wasn't really concerned with that. But I was concerned, and I was, kind of correlating it to the demise of, ex-pro Derek King, who suffered from the same conditioning and ultimately stepped away from the game, still trying to solve that issue. And Meesh, you kind of chimed in. We were looking for your, the mental side of that, what the heck was going on psychologically. And, your main concern was that Tony just had no idea what was happening, and I feel it feels like a root cause thing for me. Tony needs to really get down to what the root cause is going on that's creating this, and then develop some approach to solving it. Tony's form hasn't changed. He's throwing the same bags. He has the same partner. So unless there's something affecting him in the background, privately in his personal life, you can only point to that issue, or, he's just losing some type of passion for the game. Maybe he's not practicing as much and keeping up with the grind that this game requires, which we know from a guy like Tony Smith, that's very possible. Because, he does have other passions and he gets bored. But whatever it is, whatever it is going on there, something has to explain an 8.5 PPR over a doubles tournament for Tony Smith, because that just never happens for him. Again, the second best player in the league last season. So I just kind of want to reiterate my concern. And I'm just looking really close at what's happening to Tony Smith, open after open, signature after signature. Because I did live this with Derek King, and he was another one of those guys I had a relationship on the side, and we talked about this, what he was doing different going into the next tournament. And he was just never able to figure it out, and I wanted him to figure it out so bad. I'm fighting for him in the background. So does Tony Smith get worse? Does he continue this same level of weird play that we don't expect from him? Or do we see something turn around? And I'm really looking forward to the turnaround. And I think that'll be important for this doubles partnership going into signature number 1 this month. All right, moving on to some of the other ones you talked about. We're going to get Farias and Hodette. This is the first time this year Colin Hodette is not competing with his dedicated pro partner, Gage Landis. They've been absolutely killing it this season with a 5th or better finish in every single open, and twice making it 1 game short of the bracket final. So we know Colin Hodette has it. And a little bit different situation if we look at Ethan on the other hand. He's been scrambling all season for doubles partners, but pulling absolute beasts. And I think that goes to show the level of respect that Ethan Farias is earning from the top players in the game. This will be his 3rd partnership this season. He won a bracket and made a doubles final in open number 2 alongside Gabe Clausen. And then him and Tony Forbes teamed up a couple weeks ago and made a decent run in that bracket. I love the vibe of this partnership. We saw just how loose Colin Hodette plays. If you look at his body language, it's just so calming. It's just kind of comedic, not serious, but when he actually pitches a bag, it's serious. We'll see him crossing fingers, looking to the sky, but then congratulating players when they do amazing things. He's even surprised at his own shots sometimes, showing humility there. I absolutely love that. I think that partnership together is just going to bring a real positive vibe. You talked about Chamness and Fabianar. Oh my goodness, guys. To me, arguably 2 of the hottest players in the game right now. If you put these boys on a trajectory graph, I think it's just this uphill steep trend line for me. And if we're looking at new or non-committed doubles partnerships in the entire registration for this open, I'm excited to see these boys the most out of all of these new teams. This means we're not going to get Justin Burton Jr. Again, that's who's across the boards from Cash. You mentioned Tony Forbes not on the list for Fabianar. And for those who may not know, I just want to highlight Cash a little bit. 1 of 3 open singles championships this year. He's one of the 3. Also within the singles doubles final. The kid's the real deal. And, we can't forget the run that he had with JBJ in doubles, the same event that Cash won singles. So we almost swept, one of these opens. And then you got Fabianar on the other side, just absolutely killing it this season as well. So, man, I'm excited to see what these guys do. And for me, same thing. The vibe on this team is just going to be the same. You got Fabianar jumping on the mic all the time, running over to the mic at timeouts. I just think that this partnership, those 2 partnerships are just fun to watch. If you catch one of these games at the open, it's just going to be a cool vibe for you. Clausen and Aiken, Trey mentioned as well. Again, these 2 guys didn't compete in the top pro 100 last season just because of age. And I think if you put age, if age was the skill, or if age was skill, these guys would be 60 years old, in my opinion. I mean, that's how developed they are in this game. That's how good. Clausen has won his doubles bracket twice with 2 different partners, Farias and Soto. Aiken's so well-traveled. He's made all 3 opens alongside Jake Gore, so he's going to be making a run here with a new partner. And he's made the bracket final twice. Don't be surprised if Clausen and Aiken come out and win it again. Finished in the top 15 last season out of the minor league. And now they're going to be teaming up as doubles partnerships in here. The reigning champs, we're going to get Kano and Chamberlain. The reigning champs, we've really highlighted them quite a bit on the show here. We can go all the way back to our very first podcast when the pro partnerships were announced. We were all like, what the heck? Kano just left Soto. What's going on? Chamberlain just left JBJ. But then we learned that Kano was moving into the same city as Chamberlain. If you follow them on media, you see these boys grinding all the time in Chamberlain's garage, going head-to-head. We're seeing some of the other best players in the world. I've seen Wasco in there, JBJ, some people that are just traveling into the area. They're into the mix. So, I mean, if you're looking for who's practicing the best, who's practicing against some of the best players in the game right now, you got to talk about Kano and Chamberlain. I mean, it's kind of like having a twin brother. a guy that's at home all the time. You just beat the crap out of each other and you just make each other better. To me, that is Kano and Chamberlain. And like we were saying, one of the two teams we have to look at to come out and win this thing, Meesh.
Yeah, that is so true. And what an advantage it is to have an indoor space. Talking a lot about that in ACL Academy. You know, these players want to get better, but if you don't have somewhere to practice, you're really just kind of stuck with random events. And these boys have the space and the time. So it's definitely showing, and a little bit different when we think about Mark and Tony. But obviously Mark and Tony doing just fine. All right, time for Overreaction Monday. I'll read you guys a sentence and you let me know if it's an overreaction or not an overreaction. Trey, starting with you, Logan Chamberlain is the most consistent player in cornhole right now.
I mean, I think it's an overreaction because we got a guy like Mark Richards in there. I mean, look, if we're comparing the very best to the very, very best, I mean, the margins are very slim. What I would say is, it is an overreaction, but if I give credit to Chamberlain, I don't think anybody's done more to consistent ties. I just made up a word.
Interesting.
His entire approach and make everything more even-keeled, more predictable in a good way than Logan Chamberlain this year.
Anthony?
Yeah, I have to agree with Trey. If I look at actually both singles and doubles, I think it helps his argument a little bit more on consistency. If we just look at how he competes solo in singles, there's definitely a couple other guys that are in the mix. I mean, I'm looking at Zach Aiken, who's won a bracket and took 5th. I'm looking at Cash Chamness, who's a champ and was in a bracket final. So, still early in the season, but if we combine doubles and singles, I think it helps his argument. But yeah, I'm going to say overreaction for right now, but dude's killing it.
Cash Chamness will finish the season as a top 5 singles pro. Trey?
Whoo, man, that is tough. All right, I'm gonna cheat the game because that's I know how to do it.
It's not. Let me just reiterate.
It's not an overreaction. I'm not saying he's gonna do it, but to say he's gonna do it is not an overreaction.
That's what I was going to clarify. It's not buy or sell, right? You're just saying, is this an overreaction? Correct. Are we getting crazy?
I don't think it's. I think it's a completely legitimate claim. If you were going to ask me where I think he'd finish, I was going to say like 4 through 8, right? And so because of that, it's like right there. But no, it's not an overreaction at all.
Anthony?
Not an overreaction. Cash Chamness is in my. You make me make a top 10 list. I'm going to put him in there right now. The dude is so hot. And when you think he can't get any better, when he does something unbelievable, I just beat Mark Richards in 51 rounds, whatever. I'm going to go 53 or 4 rounds, or I'm going to have the most unbelievable game against Zach Aiken in a bracket final. Look at my stats. It just continues to get better. It's like, where is the ceiling? Like, I just feel like we haven't even seen Cash Chamness' ceiling, and he's already that good.
Gavin Kano is the best doubles player in the world right now. Trey?
That's an overreaction a little bit. I mean, I think he's a good compliment, right? But I would still say that, you start looking at what makes Jamie Graham not a great doubles partner. I don't know. I mean, I still put like Jamie Graham, Mark Richards up there. Now, if you're saying, I think there's a way you could phrase it and almost say like, is Gavin Kano the second best player on a team or something like that? I might buy that.
Like the best B player?
Yeah, right, because he's really an A player that's just playing a B role. And I think you could make an argument that right this second that Tony Smith isn't fitting that bill. So because of that, who am I comparing Gavin to? Maybe a Jacob Trzcienski? Okay, I think you're in the ballpark there. So
fair enough.
Maybe a little bit of an overreaction, but I could modify the question to get comfortable with it.
Anthony?
Yeah, it's an overreaction because I got to look at Jamie Graham and Mark Richards. I mean, the way that these guys run doubles, the way that they lead by example, there's accountability. They continue to play at the top level. And in a season where it's not going their way, where the guy on the other side of the board is A players on the other side of the board, just falling a little bit, watching how positive they stay in it, how they continue to try to pull the best out of their partner. I don't think anyone is a better doubles partner right now than Mark Richards and Jamie Graham.
The juniors division has 5 players who could win a signature this season, Trey.
Aiken, Clausen, Chamness. How far down do I go from there?
Farias,
No, I put Jack Gore over Farias.
Yeah. Could Farias win one though?
Right, because then if Farias, right. So who's 5? Yeah, that's actually probably a better way to do it. Who's 5, and could that person win? Could Farias win a singles?
Wilson.
That is a
3 for sure. 3 for sure. 5 was tricky, Meesh. That one's tricky.
I'm going to say a little bit of an overreaction. I think, yeah, I agree with Anthony. 3, I'd have easy. 5, especially when Sammy Soto leaves that group this year, right? Yeah. He's not in that same bucket. So you don't have Tony Forbes anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll go a little bit overreaction, but it's close.
Anthony?
I'm exactly the same. Yeah, if it was 3, it'd be easy for me, but a little bit of overreaction.
The biggest advantage in cornhole right now is confidence, not stats.
Advantage. I don't know. I don't think it's an overreaction. I think. Look, a game that's going to be 80% mental at the highest level, to an extent, there absolutely has to be. You have to have the confidence in order to succeed. So I don't think that's an overreaction.
Anthony?
I agree. I want to hear. The mental expert's opinion on this.
Oh yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, we're not talking about backyard players, right? These are people that we already know they have skill. So if you're going to give me the person that throws in the 10s and then the person that throws in, high 9s, but has confidence out the roof, I'm picking that second person to win, to get to the finish line, right? To actually make it. Because we talk about it's difficult to win. There's a lot of great players, but what does it take to win? I think confidence is everything. And I think that at the level that our pros are playing at, the tiny little 1% change in confidence is what gets them. That's my opinion. But yeah. All right. Hot takes. Trey, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of combine a little bit. I hope this is hot enough. First, I'm going to compound with, I am going to take my own bid and take those 3. The winner of Open, this next Open, will be one of Jacob Trzcienski, Cash Chamness, and Mark Richards, former Open winners already this season, but in the finals, they will defeat Ryan Wiedenfeld, who I'm going to say the hot hand is going to continue to stay hot.
All right, Anthony.
All right, I'm gonna make this a little competitive, a little bit, maybe create some conversation. Let's take a guy like Tony Smith, who's been one of the best players in the game for years, second best player in the league last season, who's struggling a little bit. And a guy like Ryan Windsor, who just showed some life. I'm going to say Ryan Windsor finishes better than Tony Smith in singles.
Oh, actually, yeah. I would actually buy that if that was buy or sell right now. Honestly. Not saying it's not hot, but man, right now I don't have a lot of faith in Tony Smith until I see some kind of mental change.
I love you, Tony, by the way, my dog. Sorry, bro.
All I heard was I hate Tony Smith. Let's go, Mr. Windsor. Mr. Windsor for president.
Mr. Windsor, exactly. I'm going to go pretty spicy here. I really like the teaming of the pairing up of Caitlin Allshouse and Espen Jackson.
Yeah.
Espen is a phenomenal player. We don't get to see him as much, but I really like that team, and I am going to pick them to win their bracket, which is going to be very tough. Especially
I hope Espen likes apple juice.
Get on it.
He might. Get ready for it. All right, that's all we got. Definitely tune in to all the live streams and all the action this weekend on all the socials and ESPN Plus. Until then, we'll see you next time.